everybody. You're listening to another episode of Kessel Run Transmissions, the podcast that changes its name all the time. So we're here with one of our final episodes. You know, we've been doing this since the Clone Wars Season 5. And, we started this podcast specifically for the Clone Wars. And, we feel it's time to wrap it up alongside the Clone Wars as a nice bookend. And I feel like this is the best time. And to celebrate, we have a really special guest, which we'll introduce in just a second. As always, I am Corey. Joining me, as always, is my co-host on the Clone Wars Roundtables and one of my very best friends, Ross Fallon of MGF Customs. What's up, buddy?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Excited for today's show and happy to have Ashley here.
Yes. So through the years of doing this podcast, we've gotten the great honor of interviewing the cast of the Clone Wars and meeting them at various events, Star Wars Weekend, Star Wars Celebrations. And my absolute favorite is here with us tonight. We've got Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano. Ashley, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm doing great. Everyone is healthy and well, and I'm just excited to be here with you guys. Corey, Ross, thank you for the kind introduction, and I can't believe that. I can't believe after all these years, here we are talking about the finale of the Clone Wars and also your finale. Congratulations.
Thank you. It is crazy that we get the opportunity to talk about Clone Wars again. You know, it's just like we talked about this, I think, last year at Celebration, but it's absolutely insane that the show is back. And I can't even imagine the feelings you guys must have as the cast with the show coming back. Because, I mean, we're obviously completely through the roof, but this is a completely different experience for you guys.
Yeah. We actually just had a cast recording, I guess a little Clone Wars reunion, you can call it.
Okay.
And there were several tears by me. I'm usually the crier of the group, but it was so special. You know, this show means so much to us, and we never thought we'd have the second chance. You know, you don't always get second chances in life, and we never thought we would be able to come back and finish out the Clone Wars. And the fact that we got to do that, we're so grateful. And so much credit goes to the fans. I mean, you guys never gave up on it. You use the hashtag Save the Clone Wars every day. And even at times when we thought there's no way it could ever come back, the fans never gave up. And, we just, want to thank all the fans out there that, had hope even when we didn't. And we were able to flip that hashtag to be Clone Wars Saved. And it's just, surreal. And we're so grateful to be finishing out the series.
Yeah, I mean, because the Clone Wars, when it began, I mean, it was just, I was 9 years old. Corey was also 9 years old. And the first bit that I saw was that first trailer. It's 2008. I had just seen Revenge of the Sith in 2005 and found Star Wars, fell in love with the action figures and everything. And then, a couple of years later, that trailer comes out and I'm suddenly seeing at 9 years old, like all my favorite characters, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, all animated. And that Anakin was now going to have a new Padawan, which even at 9 years old, I was really confused. I was like, who is this going to be? I remember thinking when she dropped to her knees in that trailer, I was like, oh, and she's going to die right away. Like, that's going to be the end of the new character, just straight off. 9-year-old brain. But it changed everything for us. And we always say that it's really, it's not an exaggeration to say just how big of an impact the series has had on people like Corey and I and millions of other Star Wars fans, whether in our demographic or not. I mean, I literally wouldn't know Corey here at all without the series. I would not have had a YouTube channel. I mean, not to humble brag, but like the journey that the series has given so many people, and it's really special. I mean, now here we are, 11, 12 years later, and the series is actually getting its conclusion. I think Corey was in the room for that panel when it came out, and I mean, he was just no doubt about to go into cardiac arrest. I know, I certainly was. I'm not usually one to record reactions, but mine wound up being recorded. It was just, I mean, we looked like chimpanzees. I mean, we were just going nuts. It was just wild. But yeah, so.
Well, thank you. And it's funny. I feel like I've watched you both grow up. I feel a bit like an older sister, you could say. But the show means just as much to us as, you saw us there at that panel. I was crying. Matt was jumping up in the air, like, fist pumping. And, this show and these characters, they've changed our lives. And I know, to the fans as well, even though Ahsoka is she's a fictional character and she lives in a galaxy far, far away, the lessons that she's taught me has changed my life. And, we take it so seriously, and my life is forever different because of Ahsoka. So, I love sharing that passion with you guys because it means the same to me.
Oh, absolutely. Cool. It's such a, I think about all the different iterations of Star Wars that have happened over the years, and I feel so fortunate that the one to sort of grip me into Star Wars was Clone Wars, because it's just so, I think the story is just so well done from start to finish, and especially now with Siege of Mandalore, it's just, to see this arc on screen is such a dream come true. We always say it's like watching a dream, it just doesn't feel real. And, I think, especially with The Phantom Apprentice, that was, I think, one of the best pieces of Star Wars storytelling ever. What was, I can't imagine the process of getting that script and reading those lines of Maul and Ahsoka exchanging. Basically, Maul's like the spoiler machine, right? He's just telling Ahsoka everything that's going to happen. So what was that like, reading that script and thinking, wow, this is... And how long did you know about that script for? Was it before Clone Wars ended, or you found out as you guys recorded a couple years ago?
Oh, no, I found out about the story when we recorded. I mean, Dave works on a need-to-know basis with us, so we don't find out until we literally have to. And it was incredible. It was, to realize how much Ahsoka and Maul even have in common. And then also, even I read, I'm like, wait, what? Ahsoka is going to team up with Maul? Like, wait, what? Like, I went through the same emotions you guys did. But obviously, now we know Ahsoka and Rebels and, the big confrontation with Vader, but Ahsoka's not there. I mean, in Clone Wars, Anakin is still her brother. She just saw him. She's, she can't imagine Anakin Skywalker ever turning to the dark side or doing anything bad.
Right.
And so, I think, that draws a pretty clear line in the sand for Ahsoka when Darth Maul shares with her about Anakin, because she just can't believe it. But, oh, man, I mean, that episode took me on a roller coaster ride as well. And then that fight scene, oh my gosh, that fight scene is just insane.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because, and by the way, I mean, how crazy was it was Sam also discovering the story with you in the room, or like when you guys recorded, or how did that play out?
Yes. No, Sam and I don't know if he had talked to Dave slightly before, but we both found out about the storyline, right around the same time. And Dave really always tries to get us all in the same room. Unfortunately, Sam was on set in Canada, and so we recorded the episode together via video Skype.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's like already voiceover, there's a barrier. Like, it's the same emotion as if you were doing live action, but there's a barrier because you have to stand like right behind a microphone. So now add that extra layer of, okay, we have to stay behind a microphone, and Sam is not in the room, and there's like a slight video Skype delay. So it was pretty amazing that we were able, to still, thanks to technology, do the scene together.
And it's just such a crazy scene, like, especially in the throne room, because, you brought up Star Wars Rebels and just how Ahsoka has started to mature now. We saw that a lot in the Ahsoka Walkabout arc before this. But it's just so intense, because that is just not a story that I really expected at all to come out of the Siege of Mandalore, because we had seen Rebels. We kind of generally knew the outcomes of these characters and where they would wind up after this. But when the episode plays out and Maul's got a vision and he basically knows everything that's about to happen, Sidious's about to oppress the galaxy, and Ahsoka is listening and on board. And I don't necessarily, I know Corey and I personally didn't necessarily take the implication that she was going to turn to the dark side and go for Sidious with Maul that way, but just kind of work together while still maintaining her values. But she's listening and open to it. And then the moment she asks about Anakin and Maul says, it's because he is the one who's going to destroy. He's the one who's being groomed to become the next apprentice to Darth Sidious, that she just shuts down. She says, "You lie," which, by the way, amazing line delivery on your part whenever you recorded that back in 2018. I mean, just crazy how great. You were always great. I mean, throughout the whole run of the original series, but that's something that was immediately evident with the Ahsoka Walkabout arc, and now especially here. I mean, this is just, you've brought something so different and unique and real to Ahsoka. I mean, like, has been kind of said a lot, it feels like live action, and especially with the animation just being taken to its fullest point, its fullest potential. It's wild to see.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was a real group effort, and the scripts were absolutely incredible, so it made it easy to say those lines.
Yeah, there's definitely no I think what's great about CJ Mandalore is, and the cast has talked about this, you guys have talked about this on various videos and whatnot, but you can definitely tell that you guys are putting your all into these episodes. It's so evident. And Siege of Mandalore is a movie. It's a movie. Like, that's what I'm calling it. It's every single episode is so cinematic. It's such a great thing to be proud of, and we're so happy for you guys.
Oh, thank you. Well, I will say I agree with you that it's a movie, and to me that's the best way it should be watched. So I almost recommend when the final episode drops on May 4th, I'd almost recommend like watching them all back to back and watching it how it should be as a proper 2-hour movie. And it's kind of frustrating because on one hand, before everything shut down, we were going to have screenings, where we got to watch all the episodes together and watch them on the big screen. Obviously, we can't do that now. But I have to say, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And, with everything that's going on in our world right now, we need hope. We need, some sort of hope. And to me, not only does Star Wars bring hope, but Ahsoka brings hope. Even in the darkest of times, she always has hope. She always finds the light. And, Siege of Mandalore, you're about to see, it looks like all hope is gone. And Ahsoka, she never gives up, and she always has hope. And I think, I almost think these episodes were meant to air during this time when we're all at home and we all need a bit of hope, and leave it to Ahsoka to deliver. I'm so proud of her.
And how crazy is that the Clone Wars, imagine if this is something that we found out about in 2013, that in the year 2020, the Clone Wars would come back and you would be leading up 8 of the final 12 episodes on Disney's premier new streaming platform. And then also during a worldwide pandemic, global crisis, it's like, man.
I wouldn't have believed it. I can tell you I wouldn't have believed it, but the universe works in mysterious ways, and I'm so glad that we have new Clone Wars during this time.
I think this is a perfect segue into talking about a lot of the mental health awareness you've been doing recently, which, so Ahsoka as a character, I think, is someone who so many people can identify with, especially after season 5. She had to make a really critical decision in walking away from a bad situation. And I personally never felt like I could relate to Ahsoka more than last year. And I think it's so important to talk about mental health in various different communities. And I'm so glad to see that you are taking that initiative to use your platform for that. I think a lot of people look down on that kind of thing, unfortunately. And I'm so glad that, you guys are making a change. So, I've been very open about my situation here on the podcast and here on different platforms to help other people who have gone through similar things. And so I get emotional talking about this, so I apologize if that.
Never apologize.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Last year was a very difficult time in my life personally. A lot was changing, and I was discovering a lot of things that I knew that needed to change in my life with certain people around me. And I did go through a very difficult summer. I believe I told you a little bit about it on Instagram with what happened. And it's crazy how Clone Wars, in a way, like literally helped me. Like, I know this sounds, I want to, it sounds a little dramatic, but it's really not. Like, helped save my life in a way, because Ross here was able to pull me out of that situation, which was something, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Clone Wars. And like, if those events hadn't happened, more than likely I wouldn't be here. And it's such a crazy thing for me, and that's why these final episodes mean so much. And even talking to you right now means so much, and seeing what you're doing on a personal level is just, there are no words to describe it. So, it's a big thank you to you for doing what you're doing. And what inspired you to start doing that?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Corey, for sharing your story. Yeah. The bravery that you have, that you're showing by sharing your story. You are being a voice, and you're helping break a stigma that needs to be broken.
Yeah.
The fact is, and this is a fact, our mental health is just as important as our physical health. Yeah. And just like our bodies can get sick, whether it's with the coronavirus or we just have a cold, our brains can get sick. And we should be talking about it the same way that we would talk about if we just had a cold. And we have to break the stigma surrounding it. And, first of all, what a lot of people don't realize is that I founded my company, Her Universe, with an anti-bullying mission.
Right.
So many women and girls were being bullied terribly for just saying that they were a girl and that they liked Star Wars. And so I literally started a company because I thought, okay, well, if I can make merchandise for female fans, then maybe they'll feel more comfortable, showing off their fandom. And it literally, that was my main driving force. And I asked myself, what would Ahsoka do? And my answer was that Ahsoka would stand up for fangirls, and she would be a voice, and she would be an advocate.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as time went on, I realized that bullying falls under a much broader umbrella, which is mental health. And it was the year my first book came out, and I was viciously cyberbullied, like viciously, horrendously. Really? Oh, wow. It was awful.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
And, thank you. It was something that was a complete lie. Like, it wasn't true. It was just something that wasn't true at all. But it just kind of snowballed. And next thing you know, thousands upon thousands of comments were like piling in. And, I had all the support in the world behind me, because, there was a lot of people knew that it just wasn't true, but that it didn't matter. I was still receiving such hate, and it really messed with my mind. And I was bullied as a kid, but I was never cyberbullied. And after being cyberbullied, that's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. And, after that, I felt like my voice was taken away because I couldn't defend myself. There was nothing I could say that was going to change people's minds, even though there was this story out there that just wasn't true. And so right around the same time, I was in the middle of being cyberbullied. I went to the Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, and they had just broken ground on what just opened, actually. It's the first ever behavioral health pavilion on a children's hospital campus in the nation. And what that is it's a dedicated hospital just for mental health.
Wow.
And it's the first of its kind in our nation. That's huge.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
huge. And the reason why it's so important is kids and teens, 50% of lifelong mental illnesses present themselves by the age of 14. And the second leading cause of death of kids between 10 and 19 is suicide. And once I learned those statistics, and then pairing that with my own experience of cyberbullying, I said, something's got to stop. Like, this is not okay. And, as I continued with my book tour, person after person came up to me and shared their story, but it was in secret. Like, they'd get their book signed and then they'd say, thank you for writing this book because I really struggle with depression and your book is helping me. And I was so just, again, after my own experience, I was so just, my eyes were opened of like, you know what, this shouldn't be a secret. We should be talking about this just like we're talking about this right here on your podcast, where you're talking about your own experience. You're sharing that Ross helped you because we're all in this together. This is not just about the person who's suffering. It's about like the people that are helping. And and then I thought, I have my own experience, and my voice was taken away then, but it's not going to be taken away now. And once again, I asked myself, what would Ahsoka do? And Ahsoka would help people no matter what. Mm-hmm. She would be a voice and stand up and say, you know what? Our mental health is just as important as our physical health. And that's really where I'm at. I'm not an expert. I'm very outspoken about the fact that I'm not an expert, but I'm a voice. And I'm going to be loud about it.
And that's enough. Just talking about it is enough because it is such an important thing. And like you said, I noticed the same thing even with my listeners of the podcast is when I came out about my story, people started sharing theirs and I started getting messages and, thank yous for for them to be able to share it too. And it's such a great feeling of feeling you're helping so many people. And I think part of the reason I even opened up was because I saw you open up and seen other people open up, and it just felt like it was time to do that. And, I can totally relate to, trying to be shut down and silenced, and, you just can't let those people win. And Ahsoka's line in this, in the Ahsoka Walkabout arc, which I am blanking on completely. I had it in my head the whole day.
That's okay.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, never give up hope no matter how dark things seem.
It was that, and then it was what she says to Rafa about
helping people and
helping people.
It's just how she is, and that's how she's been her whole life. Yeah.
That's actually my favorite line from the whole final season. She says to Rafa, she said, "In my life, when you find people who need your help, you help them no matter what. I guess it's just who I am."
Yeah. Yes, that's such a beautiful line. I mean, that got me choked up when I saw the trailer. When they first released it before the arc, and that line was in there. And immediately I thought that was what you were talking about a few months ago.
Yeah, it's funny. As I shared before, I had already picked out that line the moment I recorded it. I actually took a screenshot of my script, and I saved just that line. And I knew that I was going to make it my personal motto for 2020. Obviously having no idea about, what we'd be living through right now. And, as I've shared, I think we can all take it on as our personal motto for 2020, because we are going to get through this. We will, I know how sad and trying of a time this is. We've all been affected by it. But we will get through this by helping each other no matter what.
100%.
Yeah, and Corey has been helping me a lot too, because I mean, it is so important to be open about these things, because Corey and I have both reached a crossroads in our personal lives where Corey had everything that happened with him last year, and when you get around to be this age, sort of questioning your path, questioning everything you have done up until this point, where will you go next? And I mean, just being in that creative bliss that the Clone Wars started out for me at a very young age, at 9 years old, and then Corey at the same time. It was just pure fun and joy that the Clone Wars brought between like 2008 to 2013, where we're just making custom Lego figures and just making every new clone that comes out, and growing up with Ahsoka, building our YouTube channels, and just making all of this magic happen. The Clone Wars started, and it had been so amazing all these years building that together, all of us. I mean, if you were in Sweden or the Netherlands, I got on Skype for the first time at 9 years old. We were automatically friends if you liked the Clone Wars, and we would talk for hours. But, I would always, before 2017, kind of think, man, I don't know what it's like to be, to face depression, to face, to some degree, self-loathing to a certain extent. And then it started to hit in 2017 when YouTube started to implement new policies, and then suddenly it started to muddy the waters. Would this be a path forward? And just then it started to hit, and I started to feel that, I started to feel kind of upset about it, and sort of an inferiority complex was created that I've been battling with ever since. And Corey, especially last year, more than anyone, has gotten me through quite a bit of it, because it's just like the time gets away from you, and then the world is just so fast and just moving so quickly. You never have time to process anything unless you make yourself sort of stop. And Corey and I have been getting each other through all of this over the last several years, and at this point in our lives, and the Clone Wars coming back, and everything that you're doing, it's inspirational. It's beyond helpful, and I don't really think it's an exaggeration to say just how important it is. As we've been discussing, it's just it needs to be said.
Well, here's what I'll say. It sounds like we're all in very similar positions. Even with me, with the Clone Wars ending, it's ending an era for me, and change is not easy. It's just not. And, you can fight it and resist it, but change is inevitable. Yeah. And, but as Yoda teaches us, always in motion is the future. Right. And, I think instead of looking forward with fear, I think it's looking at what these past 12 years have taught us. Yeah. I mean, look at all the skills that you guys have honed, and that you have, and the wisdom. Wisdom, as I've gotten older, I've realized can only be earned with time and experience. As Ahsoka says to Captain Rex famously, so if you're a captain and I'm a Jedi, then technically I outrank you, right? And he says, well, in my experience, or what does he say?
In my book, experience outranks everything.
Thank you. Yes, in my book, experience outranks everything. And, just to be like a bit of a proud older sister for a second, you guys have gained so much wisdom and experience over the past several years. And you're so talented, and, change is ahead, but look at it as exciting. As much as I fear it, as well, as much as I keep wanting to look back and say, oh gosh, but I don't want this to change. I love this. I'm being forced to look forward to the future and say, well, what's ahead? Because there was a period of time where I didn't know that Ahsoka was in my future, and I mean, it's completely changed my life. Yeah. So I think, we're all staring change in the face. Yeah. But I think, collectively, I'm going to take Yoda's advice and say, always it's the future. And I think, hopefully we have, God willing, a bright future ahead.
Absolutely.
100%. Ashley, this has been, I think, one of the deepest and greatest conversations we've ever had. So on the channel, this is really, this meant a lot to us. And, thank you for everything you've done in the community. Thank you for always supporting us through the years, and, all of us meeting at Star Wars weekends and celebrations, and that won't change. That'll continue going forward, so, But real quick, you have a book. Real quick, we want to plug that for you. There's a book out, which is. You want to talk a little bit about that real quick?
Yes, so I got to write a little golden book for Ahsoka. It's called I Am a Padawan, it's part of the I Am series. So as you guys probably know, there's like I Am a Princess and I Am a Pilot. And so Lucasfilm actually called me and asked me if I would write one for Ahsoka. And I instantly said yes. It was like the fastest I've ever said yes to anything in my life. And then I had the daunting process of, having to write it because I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm not sure I can do this.
Sure.
But, as we've talked about in this podcast, how much Ahsoka means to me, and I know how much she means to everyone else. She's taught me and everyone else so many wonderful lessons, lessons of bravery and knowledge and hope and friendship and failure and choosing your own path. And I thought, what a beautiful way to kind of recap her story and share it with, not only a new generation of readers, but then even, us adults who need to be reminded of these lessons.
Absolutely.
So I hope everyone likes it. I had a fun time writing it, and it's out now. You can get it on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And, hopefully I'll get to see you guys again, hopefully it's Celebration. That's my hope. If not, at an event soon. And, I just want to thank you guys. I really want to thank you for the support you've given the Clone Wars and Ahsoka and me personally over the years. It's meant so much to me, and I know the rest of the cast, and it means a lot. I think kind of going back to what we were talking about with mental health, one of the worst feelings in the world is feeling invisible. Yeah. And I think we all just want to be visible. We all just want to feel like, we're seen. And I have seen you guys. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of your friendship. Ross, thank you for helping Corey. And Corey, thank you for helping Ross. And you guys have done such great things, and I know you will continue to do great things. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as well.
Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Yes, this is Clone Wars is and Ahsoka and the cast and all of you guys. It's something we're always going to hold on to. And for that, we're going to be eternally grateful. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story here and on social media. And where can everybody follow you on social media? I'm sure everyone knows, but just in case they don't.
Yeah, well, it is newer. So I have a personal Instagram page now. It's just at Ashley Eckstein.
Okay.
So everyone can follow me there because that's just me. I do have a team of people that help me with her universe. So it doesn't always go directly to me. I mean, they make sure they send me all the messages. But if you want to come to me firsthand, you can go to my personal Instagram page at Ashley Eckstein. And that's where you'll hear, any updates I have. You'll be the first to hear if you follow.
Great.
Alrighty, great. Well, thank you for joining this episode. And for all our listeners, you can watch Star Wars The Clone Wars right now on Disney Plus with the series finale in just 5 days. So thank you all for watching this podcast. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
In my life, when you find people who need your help, you help them, no matter what. I guess it's just who I am.